I just learned about a dinosaur that's a little bit weird. Like, not a lot of it, just a little. Like, just enough to look pretty normal, but be like dinosaur Uncanny Valley territory. It's a stegosaur, but why is its neck that long? What? Is this doing to anyone else what it's doing to me? This is Miragaia, a long-necked stegosaur from Portugal, and it's named after its long neck, or at least its species name Miragaia longicolum is. Longicolum means long neck. But its genus name is even better. Technically, it's just named after the place in Portugal it was found, which is also the name of the rock layer that its fossils were discovered in. But that name, Miragaia, comes from, first, the Latin word meaning wonderful, and then, of course, Gaia, the Greek goddess of Earth, which means this full dinosaur's genus and species name basically means wonderful goddess of the Earth with a long neck. But just how unusual was its neck? Well, I would say quite. Early stegosaurs had 9 neck bones, which are called cervical vertebrae. Stegosaurus itself had either 12 or 13, and Miragaia had 17, which is more than most sauropods, the long-necked dinosaurs, except for just a few of them, which also had 17. Not more. Obviously, there's different ways to evolve a long neck. In giraffes, for example, they have the same number of cervical vertebrae as you and I do. I split my lip talking about dinosaurs. Obviously, there are different ways to evolve a long neck. For example, giraffes have the same number of cervical vertebrae as you or I do, which is 7. But in reptiles, the number of cervical verts is a lot more variable than in mammals, and changing something like that often is accomplished at the genetic level by what are called Hox genes. Hox genes are just a group of genes that are really important in an animal's development as an embryo. Basically, they help determine what regions of the animal's body, from head to tail end, develop into what things. So a fly is a very common example. It's Hox genes that make sure that on middle segments of the body, legs form there, versus on the very front segment of the body, antennae form there. And when you mess with an animal's Hox genes, you can do weird things like grow legs on their face instead of antennae. I am sorry about this image, but also, is that not super cool? Anyway, given that turning what would otherwise develop as back vertebrae into neck vertebrae is the major method for neck elongation, this means that almost certainly Hox genes played an important role in the evolution of Miragaia's weirdly long neck, and that means this is probably a case of fossil recorded evidence for a shift in Hox gene expression in the lineage of dinosaurs. And I think that's pretty sick. But okay, of course, the main question is why evolve this long neck? And there seems to be basically 2 main possibilities. The first one is niche partitioning, being able to exploit a somewhat different set of resources compared to other similar animals that are living in the same environment. Because Miragaia was living with 2 other stegosaurs, one called Dicentrurus and the other one Stegosaurus itself. However, the browsing ranges of those 3 did overlap somewhat, so there maybe wasn't quite as much niche partitioning going on as we would expect if that were the only reason. The other idea is that it was a sexually selected trait, and one way we could test that is by determining if its long neck was, first, a feature that provided no immediate survival benefit, and 2, if it in fact incurred a survival cost. And well, even this is not cut and dry, because probably that long neck would have been something of a benefit in terms of feeding, extending the range of plant material that it could reach without, moving, just standing in one place, making feeding more efficient. On the other hand, it almost certainly would have been a survival cost because, well, now you just have more neck exposed for predators to grab onto, which isn't great. So, in sum, these things are complicated, and the reason that it evolved a longer neck was probably multifaceted. Okay, one last thing. Miragaia was found to be the sister genus to Dicentrurus, and when the 2 of them were put in a group together, just the 2 of them, that was found to be the sister group to Stegosaurus. So all 3 of these are very closely related. So closely related, in fact, that it has been suggested, including in a paper earlier this year, that actually Miragaia and Dicentrurus are similar enough not to be classified as 2 different genera. Maybe they're the same. Maybe the material that has historically been referred to Miragaia is just also Dicentrurus. And that's why Wikipedia calls Miragaia a dubious long-necked stegosaur dinosaur. Personally, I hope that it sticks around literally just because it has a better name, and it would be a shame if we had to get rid of it. And as per usual, let me know if there's a specific dinosaur you'd like me to talk about during this last stretch of Dinovember.